All right, hello everyone. It's Mystic Juicer back with some more Yomi action. This is Summer Smash 4. Summer Smash 4 action. This is lower bracket action, so this is an elimination match between Bob199 and Three-Headed Monkey. So I am very excited. The drama is high. The stakes cannot be higher, as one of these gentlemen is not going to be continuing from this match. Bob obviously needs no introduction. Very, very strong player. Three-Headed Monkey is, I don't know how, he's been around for a while, it feels like. And he is, I've definitely had some matches with him. He has pushed me to my limits and has definitely taken sets off me, if I recall correctly. I think we're fairly close, actually, in head-to-head matches. Played. I think it's a very, very close record. So I know he's a very strong opponent, and definitely I think somebody who can make this a very close match. So we'll see. I have no idea how either of these players are going to open. Bob is a very accomplished Yomi player, plays a large variety of the cast, and Three-Headed Monkey is exactly the same. So again, a strong student of the counterpick style, plays strong characters. So should be an exciting match with a lot of good decision making and sick reads and action and whatnot to talk about. Okay, we're starting it off with a classic. Bob getting the upper hand in the blind start, going with Trock, and Three-Headed Monkey opening with Zane. Yeah, actually, now that I'm seeing this, I do recall, I think, Three-Headed Monkey liking Zane and being quite a strong Zane player. So we'll see how that works out for him. I like the guts of starting off with a block, pulling ahead early in the war to get a hand together. Very important in this matchup in particular for Zane to have as large a hand as he can reasonably cobble together, because war stomps are actually really, really brutal. And if you are, just this far shy of clearing Trock and killing Trock, and then he has 3 war stomps, and you're on 3 cards left, and he happens to have attached 2 blocks in the previous game, you're in a world of hurt, and you can give away a match you could otherwise have won. So getting as many blocks in as he possibly can is going to be important for Three-Headed Monkey. And Bob starting off with unconventionally with a lot of kings right out of the gate. I mean, smoke him if you got him, and Trock can definitely rush Zane down before he really assembles the hand he needs to and gets that combat win that'll lead to big damage. But this definitely weakens Bob's options when he's knocked down. Okay, Three-Headed Monkey thought, okay, yeah, now that you've thrown me twice, you're going to go back to blocking, as I am surely going to play a large normal. And Bob instead thinking, well, I've played a bunch of kings, I'm playing really aggressive with my face cards, so probably I just have more attack face cards, and you've got to respect that. And indeed he does. Not taking a single point of damage, dealing 50 damage to Zane. This is looking very, very difficult. And there we go. War Stomps now being played. I'm not sure about playing War Stomps here. I guess it does force Zane to contend with the mix-up. With this kind of life differential, even Wake Up King is not all that powerful. Okay. And Bob goes for the slower, or the faster side of Jack, the lower damage side of Jack, primarily there to undercut any possible wake up Jacks, I think, from Three-Headed Monkey. I believe those are 2.8 speed. So Zane having no, odd blocks when he's knocked down and he fears a cross-up normal, he can either play a king, which will gobble up the cross-up attempt and then put his opponent on their backs. Or he can just play, if he knows that it's going to be an odd normal, he can play the jack and undercut any odd normal. Okay, finally getting his licks in and connects with the jack, so he gets to play the meaties game. And here we see the possible detriment of playing those face cards so early on in the game. We've got 2 kings that he could otherwise have been threatening here, possibly waking up with just a block. And instead, he's going to get crossed up, hoping that his reputation and the ferocity of Trock's cards would allow him to at least take the 50-50, and if not, just discourage Three-Headed Monkey from pushing a button at all. Instead, gets crossed up with the 6 and flips over what, 5 and a queen. Queen's a nice get there. So if he has a 7, he might combo with the 7 first. Does not. Does he have a 9 to cash in for big damage? Or is he just going to connect it to either some aces or, okay, nothing at all. 8-card hand, did not want to tag any normals on there. Okay, so possibly he has a hand full of throws and kind of 2s and 3s that he wants to hold on to. I think Trock or Bob from this position has kind of equal play to go for block or for throw. Nice, gets the block off. A very important block there, happening to run into a gold burst from Three-Headed Monkey, trying to fill his hand full of damage. Bob playing the very conservative play of, I'm just going to turtle up, and if you throw me, then, you know, even if you get some stuff off shenanigans, you are going to have to go in. You're going to have to spend some more cards out of your hand, and it doesn't seem like your hand has all that much damage in it, so I'm willing to take the throw in any case. Ooh. Yeah, Bob pumping the brakes just long enough to tempt Three-Headed Monkey to go in, and instead gets counter thrown. This matchup is absolutely, like, Zane is such a dominant character because in many of his matchups, he sets the pace, right? You as the player playing against Zane are having to think about what Zane wants to do. And in this matchup, it is very, very much the opposite. Trock, for the most part, is the one who sets the pace. Zane is the one who has to think about, okay, can I afford to block here? Do I have to play a normal? Like, these can be very challenging concepts for a Zane player to navigate, because, you know, typical Zane game plan is do what you want. You have the threat of the grappler, 5 attack or a 5 throw. Oh, just puts it out there, hits him with the max anarchy. He's got 6 cards in hand, so that nightmare scenario of quadruple war stomps is very, very unlikely to do anything. He can definitely get his way out of this, and he has equalized the life total in an instant. So Bob, looking like, you know, he's a lost combat away from losing this game that had suddenly got away from him. If I were Three-Headed Monkey, I would be very afraid of ace-ace here. We haven't seen any aces powered up for at all from Trock's end, but it is that and the slow side of Jack are basically the only things, and Kings are the only things, the only attacks, I should say, that can kill instantaneously. Not that it much matters because he has already spent both of his jokers. 2 attached blocks doesn't mean a tremendous amount. Bob playing bravely there, putting the block out, hoping that he had played aggressively enough in the early game that Three-Headed Monkey would be too scared to go for a throw. Three-Headed Monkey has not had very good luck in connecting those normal throws in neutral. So the 2 attached blocks don't mean all that much. The power up for aces are much more concerning. Three-Headed Monkey has to decide whether he wants to lose to a normal throw or lose to ace-ace, and he's got to play a card to contend with those options one way or the other. And it looks like he has decided he expected Bob to go for a dodge. It's possible. It's very possible. If Bob had a joker, He could freely go for dodges there without risking death, but having the jokers, he can also just play ace-ace. And if three-headed monkey dodges, then the worst that happens is he gets knocked down. If he's got a joker, he's still at 15 hit points. He's got to contend with one more mix-up. So we move on to Trock versus Geiger. We're riding the 20XX carousel here. We'll see how three-headed monkey navigates the early game here. This is where the Geiger player has to survive. If the Geiger player can navigate to the mid game or the late game, depending on how many spirals and temporal distortions he draws, with a high enough card count and just enough hit points to threaten that lethal mix-up, then he's got a shot of winning this game. His options become more oppressive the later in the game they go, and the higher his hand size is. Right? He's got a 0.0 speed, double ace attack. He's got attacks that beat blocks. These are all excellent tools for him to use. And just like that, Bob has and here's the tricky part, right? So Bob has done the first thing that the Trock player needs to do in order to win this match, which is navigate the early game and get two attached blocks. Not as soon as he can, but eventually. Navigate your way to two attached blocks. Now your super is potentially online. You have that as an option. Don't take too much damage is the next trick. So yeah, so I like this normal attack here from Bob. Three-headed monkey has played very soft to Trock normals, and Bob is capitalizing on that, dealing a cool bit of damage, just shy of 20 there with that combo. At this point, Bob is just trying to, or the Trock player should be just trying to oppress Geiger, keep him on his low hand size as long as possible until he can assemble the cards he needs. So he wants, kings, he wants his queens, his jacks, he wants to find enough dodges so in the late game or the mid game, once he's got his super online, he can threaten stuff with his super. I like the knockdown into king throw there. Three-headed monkey trying to take the 50-50 on a mix-up normal, hoping that his large normals in the early game would discourage Bob from going in, but that is very much not the case right now. Nice, okay, we got some footsies here. Three-headed monkey coming alive, but right now, yeah, exactly. Right now, Bob can play combat reveals with very little risk. He doesn't need to worry too much about anything. He can play normals, he can give Geiger some cards, he can duff out some throws, he can beat out some large normal attacks. Because Geiger is still stuck in game plan 1, which is I need cards in hand. Trock has 95 hit points. Geiger really needs to play to win combat in the early game. It is a little bit on both of these characters to play like that in the early game, but definitely Trock they're both high hit point characters, but Trock has just a little bit more oomph. His cards are just that much more card efficient, so he can play larger damaging stuff in the early game than Geiger can really risk. Geiger can suffer from Geiger hands. He really needs spirals in the early game. They are very helpful to him in preventing attached blocks, in just keeping Trock from doing whatever he wants. And oh, that is not a clash that you want to see. That earlier queen indicating to Bob that, hey, okay, well, that probably means, if you had the fast time spiral, you'd probably play it. So if you don't have that, I can play the slow side of Jack. Even if it hits a fast time spiral that you just drew, I'm not too unhappy. I've still got a ton of hit points left. And if I hit any normal or a queen, it's going to be an excellent trade for me. So this is looking like a very commanding game from Bob, looking to make it 2-0 in this first to 4 set. And this is where it can be very challenging playing first to 4. I used to think that first to 4 was not a big deal, but I've realized more recently, after going back to playing first to 3s, that it is a much longer set. You absolutely, especially if you're gearing up to play against somebody you know is going to ride the carousel with you, you know is going to be constantly pressuring you. Every time you win, they are going to put you on the back foot and put you in a tough matchup that you have to respond to. It can be very, very emotionally draining, and going down two games early, it can be hard not to fixate on that. So hopefully, THM here, he's put his warrior cap on. He's going to put the pressure back on Bob, apply the Onimaru here. And I like this in the sense that he is accepted. It indicates that he is accepted, that it is going to be, that if he wins this next one, he's going to have to win against either DeGray or Argagarg. Bob will absolutely switch into one of those two matchups. Typically, he has played Argagarg. But yeah, he will absolutely go to that place, and you had better be prepared to deal with that. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So why is this matchup good for Onimaru? Why switch into Onimaru for this? So Onimaru is very, very good at dealing with characters who have low amounts of dodges. Troc only has 8 total. So he at some point, Troc needs to be pushing the block button. And Onimaru is very good, of course. That leads into his second strength, which is oppressing the block button. Especially in this matchup, Troc has his highest block on an 8. So Onimaru having 8s and 10s, he's got 2 ranks of guaranteed guard crushes if those hit the table and they run into a block. The other thing he does quite beautifully is he can be very, very card efficient with normal attacks if they are played in the neutral or played raw. If he dodges, it can be quite expensive for him. That can actually take a lot of cards out of his hand, and he will need to do some blocking or some clever normal attacking to get out of that situation. But Troc, likes to throw. He can have tough ranks of blocks in hand. It's very possible that Troc will just have 1 or 2 ranks of blocks in hand at all at any given moment, and then you're dealing with quite a difficult situation, right? Can you afford to put that 6 out, knowing that Onimaru is going to be looking for 8s and 10s? It's not unreasonable for Onimaru to play 6s as well in the neutral to beat slower normals, to beat Troc 6s. 6, 7, 8 is a good straight for Troc to hit. So it's not unreasonable to see that move. And also Troc's kings. As normal, as standard, Onimaru does very well against dealing with Troc kings. So this is, the way I think about it is basically like a grappler matchup where Troc is playing the standard grappler role, and Onimaru is playing more of a Midori role, where his real he can undercut normals, that sort of thing. There we go. Those 2 attached aces, 3-headed monkey finally sinks a face card that is going to convert beautifully. 25 damage for a single card is excellent damage efficiency. Among the best in the game, absolutely. And equalizes the life totals. Troc still sitting on 7 cards. Onimaru sitting on a nice healthy 9. Oh, just does it again, and he does not need to final authority this. This is still going to convert. So in 2 turns, he has dealt 50 damage. So yeah, Onimaru definitely has a version of explosive damage. Where a lot of other players, or a lot of other characters, I should say, have their explosive damage in their aces. Onimaru's aces kind of distribute their damage into his other cards, so he has access to them more consistently. They're still telegraphed in the same way, because you do have to attach the aces. You see them attached to your opponent's character card when you're facing against Onimaru, so you know when the threat is there. But it's very oppressive. It's a very, very oppressive kind of feeling to deal with the twin pincers of final authority backed attacks, which are going to beat anything unless you're dodging or blocking. And, on the other hand, very slow, very powerful normal attacks. Okay, Bob getting some licks in though, not afraid to push that throw button. Three-headed monkey at that 8-card hand, around that hand size where, as Onimaru, you would prefer to be blocking and building your hand back up. You would prefer not to be playing normal attacks at this juncture. Ooh, wow, I'm actually very surprised to see that 4 attack come out. I was expecting that, I was about to say, the thing that Troc can now exploit in this particular scenario, in this phase of the game, is the fact that Onimaru is probably running low on tremendously high value face cards, and he can start outvaluing him with his own really card efficient special cards. So jacks and queens especially. Right? If you poke out something and he doesn't have final authority, or he has to spend final authority just to win the combat, that's good for you too. All right, three-headed monkey takes it in a fairly close game. Bob was equalizing there at the end, made some clutch reads. But now we will switch over to, let's see what Bob picks. Yeah, goes for Argagarg. Okay. So now the shoe is on the other foot. A lot of the threat of Onimaru's innate, his fast normals, all of that stuff is absolutely, it's not meaningless. It's not meaningless, but it is difficult for him to bring it to bear in the early game because Argagarg has a single card, which is his ace, that has a block on it, and that beats all guard crush attempts. It is a brutal reveal that basically forces Onimaru to play against like an inverted version of himself, where every turn he has to decide, has my opponent found an ace and is he blocking with it? And can I afford to put myself in a position where I have to, where I am in bubble shield mode? So I like the way that Onimaru, or three-headed monkey, is navigating this so far. He has gone for some blocks. He has, however, not been completely passive. And this is exactly the time where these 10 attacks can actually do some damage, where the Argagarg player is still kind of trying to assemble enough cards in hand to be able to threaten that ace, to get the aces online, to get any pair that he can power up. That won't put him in a terrible position if he does get his ace block thrown. So he can exploit this very, very nicely. So now the issue is, again, just trying not to lose this game in the early game. Bob is by his play indicating that he does not yet have aces in hand. Okay, here we go. Making it official. He does have them now. He has at least one in hand. Now we're playing the matchup as it is typically played. Now every turn, three-headed monkey has to think, do I have to poke out a throw? Do I have to allow myself to be thrown? Can I get away with an attack here? Is he going for a block? What's happening? Okay, Bob electing not to go for the knockdown, just trying to get some damage in, is keeping himself on a fairly low hand. So if he ever does lose this ace, it's going to be tricky for him. The nice thing for Onimaru is that he does have, yes, very fast throws. So he can spend those sevens. Those are the dominant throw in the matchup. He has to pump this at least once. Okay, twice is fine too. Put him at 40 hit points. He's got to worry about keeping enough cards in hand that he can still threaten damage off of queens and final authority, because that is the only thing that's going to push Argagarg to block. Okay, nice. Three-headed monkey navigating this nicely. You probably can't win this matchup as Onimaru just with the throw button. You do have to have hit a couple of attacks. Typically, this comes down to a 50-50 coin flip between Onimaru having a dominant 7 throw and Onimaru having final authority on hand, and last combat, last chance to win it, that sort of thing. So Bob fighting back with throws, equalizing things nicely here. Just has a 10 hit point lead. The other thing that Onimaru can threaten in this matchup are his dodges. You know, it can be very risky, of course, in this scenario that we're talking about, where there is a known ace on the ARG player's side. Yes, where he can get some mileage out of these dodges. He's got very good dodge follow-ups. Does have to worry about jokers, but I think in this instance, you're not suffering too much if you go in here. I don't really like the queen reveal there. I would have preferred probably a normal, a 6 if he still has one, although a lot of them have been played and thrown. Giving Argagard cards is not tremendously bad. It does mean his successful throws are going to be a little bit more, you know, deal a little bit more damage, but he doesn't get a massive amount of damage off of throw anyway. That's not, you know, if you're losing to throws, you're going to lose slowly. No matter how many cards he has in hand, essentially. So three-headed monkey mixing in his very, very rare normal attacks here. If I'm three-headed monkey, I probably dodge here. Oh, okay. Okay, expected the ace and went for the throw, and Bob was counting on the fact that three-headed monkey would try to, you know, he played something risky, played that 5 attack. The natural instinct is to go, okay, I've done something really risky. Now you react to me. I'm going to go back to playing my really conservative turtle style. I'm going to see what you do. And then, you know, I'm not going to take any damage. I'm not going to take any risks here. And three-headed monkey doing a beautiful job of navigating this matchup. If Bob loses this, I'm not sure. I won't say it's 50-50 that he switches to Gray, but I think it's fairly possible that he does. Oh, the call-outs, though. And this is a single pump for victory here. If Bob chooses not to, and he does not face down, and that is going to be it. So nicely played by three-headed monkey, beautifully navigated the early game and mid game, got just enough attacks in, and got Bob playing a little bit more aggressively than he might have wanted to. No, Bob's sticking to Argagarg, saying, okay, you know, I'm in the dominant, I'm in the advantage space in this matchup. I'm going to adjust slightly my play, maybe play a few more bubble shields a little earlier on in this game and see what happens. Ooh, big normals on both sides. Bob undercuts the 8 with his 6. See if we can lead into some good damage here. 6 into queen, probably. Be the standard play. Okay, goes in with the king. Is he going to pump it, though? No, okay. Yeah. All right, 666, number of the beast. Hits him with that 20 damage after Hex with first turn combo. Nice bit of damage here. Yeah, ZQXX knows what's up. But again, putting himself on fairly low hand size here. Okay, nice attached ace. This will probably put Bob in a position where he blocks a little bit more often with aces than he would ordinarily. We'll see. This next turn is going to be very interesting. We'll see if three-headed monkey immediately goes for a high normal, expecting Bob to block. Immediately goes for a throw, expecting Bob to ace block, or goes for a face card immediately. Instead, he opts to go very, very defensive. So there we see that pattern, right? Plays a risky move. Single ace in neutral is a risky move against an opponent that might have bubble shield. Follows it up with blocking. And now he's crawling back further into his shell. We see Bob blocking more regularly here. See if we see rule of threes in action. Ooh, Bob content just to sit back and block. Kind of feeling out or taking a bet against three-headed monkey, having not only a 10 in hand, but also having the courage to play it. And comes ahead in that exchange. So now Bob should have more than enough cards to power up for aces if he needs them. It is also more and more likely that he will have drawn one off of any of those off of any of those block draws or any of those start of turn draws. We'll see what happens next. Okay, Bob getting aggressive, not being cowed. You do have to press the throw button occasionally in this matchup as Argagarg. It's very, very. You may not need to explicitly. You can certainly play block attack the whole time. But mixing in a throw occasionally does mean that Onimaru has to worry a little bit more about playing entirely passively. If Argagarg is playing a very, very heavy block attack game, then as Onimaru, you are blocking a lot and you're dodging a lot. Your blocks are going to, blodges just in general are going to option select both of those in a fairly, low risk way. And Bob just going in right now, getting tremendous damage in the early game here. With a massive life lead, Bob can almost crawl entirely back into his shell. And if I was him, I would probably just ace block for the rest of the game. Ace block or dodge for the rest of the game, because it is going to be very difficult for Three-Headed Monkey to make leeway. I actually really dislike the powering up of the dodges. It reduces his hand size slightly, right? Well, I guess it doesn't after draw. But what it does is it concentrates his hand size tremendously. So throughout the rest of the game, Bob's going to know that, okay, you're actually at 2 cards less than what you're really at, because part of that hand is aces. Aces do not beat blocks. I can continue to play the game plan that I am committed to playing. Whereas, so it's working out all right because Bob is being aggressive, and Three-Headed Monkey is finding the throws that he needs. But this is very, very dangerous. The trick too here is that every 7th throw that Three-Headed Monkey plays in this early stage of the game is a 7th throw, is a dominant throw that he gives Bob in the late game. But once those 7s are gone, Bob has the option to start putting in the 7s of his own, and those are going to be the dominant throw. So you don't really want to be contending with that possibility of being undercut by stuff in the late game. So 15 health remains for our pal Onimaru here. Bob has fairly little to worry about. He's got to worry about dodge into a bunch of damage. There we go. First ace block of this second game in the matchup. See how Bob responds to that ace block. Is he going to immediately block again, or is he going to get aggressive? Okay, goes for a dodge instead. Gets caught by the 8th throw. We might see no pump here, or maybe 1 pump. Oh, goes for both, and there we go. So now we see the poison pill of that power up, that earlier power up. So I believe he still has 2 of those aces that he powered up for in his hand, unless he used one to pump one of his throws recently, which means that he's on a real hand size of 4. And that's very, very difficult. With 60 damage to go, I mean, it would be difficult even if he hadn't powered up those things and they had been throws in hand. But it is going to be very difficult for him to get out of this. He really has to basically hit a throw with an attack that he can final authority, but that is also going to put even more pressure on his hand size. And while he's making some stuff happen here, he is rapidly running out of room to be able to successfully get any mileage off of throw wins. If I'm Bob, I'm just blocking with aces for the next couple turns. Yeah, there we go. That is GG. There is basically no play that Three-Headed Monkey can do at this point that is going to get him near dealing 40 damage, especially since he first has to get out of Bubble Shield. So if Bob does anything other than ace block or dodge here, I think that he is taking his life in his hands. There's absolutely no reason to ever play anything other than blodge for the rest of this game. There we go. That is game 5. Our Bob takes a 1-game lead, but Three-Headed Monkey has managed to equalize by taking that first game against Argagarg. He now gets the opportunity to counterpick. So he The theory is he wins this next game because he gets to choose the advantaged matchup he wants to play, and then he's got to survive one more counter pick. If he wins that, then he has won the set. So he's got to think long and hard about what character he wants to play that Bob is going to get the opportunity to put into his worst matchup. So let's see what Three-Headed Monkey thinks his best rounded character is, or maybe the character he feels that Bob can counterpick the least that also beats Argagarg. That is the play he's got to make here. Okay, and it likes to go to Zane. So we will see Bob, if Bob loses this match, I am very confident that we will see Bob switch to Trock again, and we will see the ace match be Trock Zane. But it is not yet over. Argagarg certainly has tools at his disposal to make this a difficult matchup for Zane. In the early game, he can, fairly safely, he can play a very risk-averse style of play where he's mostly playing, he's playing queens, he's playing jacks, he's playing his twos to basically beat any throws, any attacks that are not two attacks from Three-Headed Monkey. And there we go. We see the two attack come out, expecting some other normal to be able to undercut. Not great shenanigans there, although he does get a free, 6 damage for free is not bad. We'll take it. Does he have the jack? He does not. Just cashes in for 15 damage. Still not bad at all. So it takes a nice little bit of a life lead here, and he can continue to play. Essentially, Zane is playing a modified version of the grappler game plan in most of his matchups, but this matchup is definitely no exception. Argagarg has a lot of tools to keep out most of Zane's throws and attacks. He can also, beat Zane's king with faster attacks, which is something that most other characters cannot do because he does have that counter. Ooh, that undercut. Three-Headed Monkey finding the twos he needs in the early game. Certainly putting the pressure on here. Oh, another terrible shenanigans here, even worse than the first one. Gets another throw and loses a joker for his trouble. But no face down from Bob, so Three-Headed Monkey can safely go in. Finally finds that jack, gets the knockdown, working on a 20 hit point lead. And now he gets to play the meaty game. So in this game against Argagarg, it's tough for him to do anything. He can, if he wants to beat meaties outright and doesn't want to block, he's got to double ace or he's got to joker. So typically he's going to need to block. Three-Headed Monkey getting the advantage there. Another bad shenanigans. Still flipping over damage, but not great cards. Would like to see jacks or queens on any of those flips, basically. Still getting a lot of the damage he needs, and working on a beautiful life lead so far. Bob finally powering up for aces. Now he's going to play the, do you want to attack into this ace? Do you want to get poked when you try to throw it? Style game plan. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about Zane playing the grappler mode. Wow. Just attacks into it anyway. Bob looking for a throw to Duff. I'm sure he was not expecting a high normal there. And Three-Headed Monkey beautifully undercutting it with his own 3. Flips another throw. Okay, he's going to combo into the 6 that was revealed. Yeah. And wow. Yeah, 23 damage off that spaghetti combo. Zane only has spaghetti combos, really. And nicely pushing Argagarg out of this match. Very, very commanding life lead right now. Basically playing not to lose. is what he can get away with. He can get away with being thrown. He can get away with being poked a little bit. And he can basically play dodge or 5-throw. Ooh, gets undercut. That is nasty. Bob finding the dominant throw he needs. Okay, takes some extra damage. See if Three-Headed Monkey can convert off of this. Oh, right, no, it wasn't a knockdown. Okay, sorry, never mind. And it would have been Bob anyway. See if he can convert off of this. Bob does have to worry about kings, so he can't spend too much time blocking. He does have to protect himself from kings by attacking with stuff that's faster than 5 and having a 10 in hand so he can counter the ability. But so far, doing a nice job now, getting back some steam, getting back in the game here. It is not over yet. Zane does not have the level of inevitability that that Argarg has, not with an 8-card hand and with no aces powered up for yet. But he does have the possibility of a chip-out victory in front of him. So his dodges become very powerful. Here we go. So this is going to be the first test. Does Bob have a joker? Wow, no face down, and that is going to be it for the game. Very, very likely. Unless he dodged with no lethal in hand and did not have an ace. No, there we go. Hits him with that 19 off the dodge. And we are going to see that ace match. So let's see if Three-Headed Monkey can learn from his first game, from that loss in the first game, figure out Bob's range as Troc, and see what happens. Can he do it? Yeah, like I said, very, very close. Back $10 on Troc. $50 on Vendetta. You goon. Alright, so opens with a king. Rough stuff, gets knocked down. I suppose in this matchup against grapplers in general, you are not tremendously worried about the knockdown game. Wow, okay, this is very risky. I really don't know. Honestly, if I'm Bob here, I just throw. Like, there's no reason not to throw. Okay, I would totally have thrown there. Because, look, what's going to happen? Three-Headed Monkey wakes up with Max Anarchy, and then you have, like, 2 War Stomps, and you just win the game for the rest of the match. I really don't like... I know those cards are not tremendous... Those 10s are not tremendously useful to Three-Headed Monkey right now. And he probably wants, like, something substantial. He wants to have aces in hand so he can capitalize off of Shenanigans aces. But going that low hand and reducing it, like, you haven't truly diversified your hand, right? You haven't developed it in a real way. You're still stuck on the same awkward hand, because those aces are essentially just as unplayable as the 10s you powered up. So let's see if he's able to navigate his way out of here. He is, if he does have Anarchy, he hasn't played it yet, which is good. Okay, nice. Going for blocks. Bob plays a very, or has, at least in this set, has played a very, very conservative Troc opening against Zane. Actually, no, he played kings fairly early on in the first one, so never mind. But right now he's playing the most conservative possible range against Zane, especially if you do not have a lot of face cards. He's playing just normals. He's just getting attached blocks. He's cutting down on Zane's ability to, convert into sudden damage off of a 9 attack by just not playing anything that loses to 9 attack or 6 attack or 7 attack, right? He's playing 4s and 5s, which lose to 2s and 3s, but who cares, right? You've got 95 hit points as Troc. You actually almost get an advantaged state off of getting knocked down because your kings become that much more effective against Zane's meaties. So there's just a lot of stuff that can go very, very right for you, and very few things that can go wrong for you if you're playing this in the early. Okay, Bob electing not to go for True Power of Beats. If he does have it in hand, I like that. Just playing the kings is fine. I don't know if I agree with these war stomps, to be quite honest. I don't know why Bob would be tremendously worried about Zane having access to, you know, his blocks being a little more effective, his ability, him being able to dodge if he wants to. I don't think you actually lose anything off of dodges in the early game, but maybe that's just an incorrect way of thinking. Okay, going for some more dodges. Maybe he just has a ton of dodges in hands and wants to cycle his cards. That's not unreasonable too. You can definitely get stuck in like having 3 war stomps in hand is very good in the late game. It is actually very bad, or very awkward, I should say, in the early game. It's very good in the sense that you get to pick the time that you want to go in and spend them. You basically wait for an opportunity. You've got this trap card set the whole time you're playing. Any opportunity that, you know, anytime your opponent overextends, you're going to have this opportunity to go in against them and you know, possibly just win the game for free. On the other hand, until that happens, they're essentially just bad cards, right? Until a scenario comes around where you can actually use them as dodges, which is typically later on in the game where you have something of value to dodge into. You know, either a king or even, you know, a normal throw that's been pumped twice. Dodging into 8 damage in the early game is not all that great for you. It doesn't significantly advance your game plan. And yeah, Three-Headed Monkey has just not caught on to the fact, or is unwilling to believe that that Bob is just going to continue to play just attacks. There are very, very few things that that Bob is going to lose to. He's occasionally putting in some dodges, I suppose, because he wants to check to see if Anarchy has arrived yet. But I think at this point he's like, okay, all right, so I understand now. You powered up. You just had awkward hands. You're just trying to get some sort of damage out of it. So I can essentially play as if Anarchy wasn't a thing. And at this point, even if he gets hit with Anarchy, it's still a very good situation for him. He'll have the hand advantage. He'll have the life lead. It's a tough place to be. All right, so he has played 5 of his dodges. Yeah, wow. So he had probably pretty an awkward hand in the early game there. Ooh, and just closes it out with a meaty war eagle totem. Good move, seals out the set. Very, very nicely played on both sides here. Bob narrowly winning out overall. And yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed that game, that set tremendously. Until next time, of course, check out the forums, see what tournaments are showing up for. And until next time, enjoy yourself some Yomi. Cheers.